Hi, everybody. I'm Amanda. This is Kevin
Hi there.
with A. Smith Gallery, and we're here today to do a gallery talk with Cathy Spence. Hi, Cathy.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Cathy received the Director's Award in the water exhibition with a image entitled Bayou #1. Elizabeth Avedon was the juror for that, and it was way back in 2023, like a year ago. So, Kevin, would you like to read?
I'm going to read Cathy's bio.
Okay.
Cathy Spence is a fine art photographer living and working in Beaumont, Texas. She received a Bachelor of Fine Arts degree from Lamar University. Cathy has photographs in the Whitliff Collection of Southwestern and Mexican Photography, Museum of Fine Arts Houston, and the Humanities Research Center at the University of Texas in Austin. She was awarded the Houston Center of Photography Fellowship in 1998. Her work has been included in numerous group exhibitions across the state, including the most recent exhibition, Liminal, at the Dishman Art Museum, Beaumont, Texas in 2023.
Sounds about right.
Yeah.
And for full disclosure, Amanda and I also lived in Beaumont at one time. And she went to Lamar.
I graduated from Lamar too.
Yeah.
Yay.
Okay.
Fellow Cardinal.
Yeah. Well, would you like to read your statement?
Okay, sure. With area wetlands and tributaries as subjects, Liminal explores moments of transition, the space before daylight, almost winter, the edge of spring, the moment before rain, the mirage of fog. In the beginning, I set out to create my own Edward Steichen's 1904 pictorial, The Pond, Moonrise, described by art critic Charles Caffin as the penumbra between the clear visibility of things and their total extinction into darkness. Most of the time was spent in the marshes where the air is wet and thick and the horizons are long and thin, broken mostly by tall pines or squat willows. Eventually, I began to take note of the constant struggle between the sun and the fog to illuminate and obscure the landscape.
Great.
Oh, fantastic. Well, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to screen share your images.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Beaumont's a very humid place.
Yes,
It's wet. Yeah.
Yeah, I never had a good hair day when I lived there. Of course, Houston's not a whole lot better.
No. Well, I got a few questions for you.
Okay.
So did you grow up in East Texas, and has that influenced your work?
Yeah, born and raised in Beaumont, not too far from the one particular refinery, and very close to, I started out close doing the series in a marsh in Beaumont, or close to Beaumont, close to where I grew up. And yeah, did it influence my work? Well, yeah. The thing is Beaumont's not very beautiful. It's flat. It's surrounded by rice fields and marshes and refineries. And growing up there, it was you had to really look for the beauty there. And as a kid, thinking I'd probably never travel or anything, I tend to find foreign landscapes around me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
I'd look maybe a place and think that looks like a French countryside, or what I, from paintings, I would think looked like a French countryside or a Flemish landscape. Yeah, you have to find your beauty wherever you are, and that's what I tried to do. Yeah, the thing about also where I grew up, with the refineries, especially like this time of the year when it's always cloudy, the flares would go off and you'd have that beautiful undulating light at night, in the skies, and the shadows of, around us would just move and come and go because of those flares. And if anything, it made me appreciate the shadows.
right.
Do you know what I mean?
Right.
And
yeah.
the strange colors we would have at night. with the glow.
I lived
So,
next door to a refinery at one time, and it didn't smell good, but on those foggy nights, it was actually beautiful. I mean,
beautiful. It
yeah,
really,
yeah,
it's amazing how lovely, when you're coming over a bridge and the lights are on and it almost looks like the land of Oz off in the
right,
distance, and then
right.
sometimes several flares are going and the smokestacks are uh pumping, and yeah, it's really quite lovely in its own ugly way.
It is. It is.
Yeah.
How about has working around academics after leaving college influenced your work?
I'm kind of an academic by association, and it's kind of it's hard. The academic world can be very rigid, and you know, uh, you come out of there thinking everything has to be a symbol, or everything in a photograph has to have a meaning to it,
Right.
and that's the tough part about it. One of my favorite quotes is David Sedaris said about writing, which I think it's the same with art, is you get the sense of control. You have control, but it's only an illusion that everyone's going to come to it with their own stuff,
Right.
right?
Right.
And that's the way I finally you have to let go of that. And I'll tell you, the first time I ever really realized just how people come to your art, no matter what you're thinking of. And in academics, my daughter right now is doing her thesis for her BFA, and she's writing all this stuff, and because that's what they want. And I'm like, and it sounds really great, and I'm like, but it's really going to come down to the art. Is it good? Are your sculptures good? And but with that, when I came out of school, and again, you're writing this thesis, and everything has to have a reason.
Right.
And after I started my first series, Saints and Satyrs, I went and had my daughter, who's now about to graduate, and I needed to get right back into it. I didn't want to lose my life, right? When you have a child, your life kind of disappears. And so about 3 months into it, I said, okay, I'm going to make a photograph. I don't care. I just need to make a photograph. And I decided on just a little description from a ghost story my dad read, where he would read ghost stories out of a series of books called Foxfire, about the Appalachian woods.
Yeah,
They
I
were
had that series.
interviews.
I had that
Yeah,
series.
yeah. So
Yeah.
he read the ghost stories to me out of
Yeah.
there. And one time, all it said was, down at the cemetery was a flying baby. They didn't call it an angel or a cherub. It was a flying baby. I said, I'm going to make a flying baby. And I came up with the way I was going to do it. I decided, okay, I was thinking about those old photographs with the hidden mother, and they're just holding the baby, and you see the mom's hands, and I said, I'm going to try this. One day after work, I came home, cut out some really bad looking wings, pinned them up, had my husband hold my daughter out between the two curtains, where all you see is his hands holding her and the wings pinned up on the backdrop. And she sat there, and I got a few pictures, and I said, I can do this. It's not great. I can do this though. Suddenly she just poses, just this perfect, got it. And I was using 4x5 camera. It's really and it's wonderful. And I made a flying baby, and I printed it up, fabulous, had it in the show, and everyone was like, oh, it's the birth of an angel. It's there's the creator's hands holding
Right,
the baby,
right,
and the
exactly.
shape of the curtain looked like the anatomy of the woman, right?
Right.
I was like, oh, I was just trying to make a flying baby. You know? So yeah, people are going to bring to what you're
That's
photographing,
right. That's
you know,
right.
and that's where you have to kind of lose the academic part. The
Right.
good thing about the academic part, and tell me if I'm running on too long,
Oh, no, keep going. You're
is
great.
that I wasn't a natural at photography at all. I had no sense of composition, light, nothing. And so I looked to the history of photography and painting and everything else. And when I got out into the field, instead of thinking of, say, the rule of thirds, I would think, okay, I really like David's Death of Marat and all that extra negative space above it. It gives the subject weight. I'm going to do that in this photograph. I'm going to make sure there's a lot of empty negative space, and I'm going to have the subject down here. And that's how I had to think of things rather than thinking of the rules of photography, the rules of composition. I had to think, I'm going to try to create this in my own way.
Right.
And in fact, I have another series of my son who has albinism, and there's this one image called Floating, where he's in a canoe and he's right down in the corner of the canoe, kind of curled up, and that's my Death of Marat. You know,
Wow.
and that's the good thing about it. The academic world for me is my takeaway is, you know, how I'm going to think of it, how my work.
So it kind of emulating, but more so just kind of putting your place and yourself in that place, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow. Well, I've got kind of a long question here.
Okay.
Edward Steichen's 1904 pictorial of the pond is not a panoramic or wide angle shot as are yours. He gives us more of the foreground, which allows more for a decorative pictorial style. Panoramas tend to draw the viewer into the scene. They represent things more as we actually see them, more literal. Are you making any kind of statement with the images other than the beautiful exploration of liminal space?
Yeah, no, you know, again, it's going back to, okay, I see something, I like how this is done, how can I use it in my own way, right? And for that, you know, when I saw the Steichen piece and thought of it, it was more about when I started out, the play between of shadow and light, you know, and that one, as the art critic said, the penumbra,
Right.
the fight, the between being exposed and being hidden, you know.
Right. Right.
And that's what I was thinking of. But like I said, even when way back when I did my series Saint and Satyrs, they were actually inspired by E. Cummings poetry. A lot of them, not all of them. Some of them flying babies, you know, but by the word, the written word, most of the time. And but if you looked at them and you knew the poem I took it from, or the passage I took it, whatever from, whatever photograph, you probably wouldn't recognize it. You know,
Yeah.
it's like you said, I took what I got from it and I ran with it.
Wonderful. Here's the last question. Liminal is a distinct departure from your previous wonderful early body of work, Saints and Satyrs. Can you talk about how the experiences of creating them were different, or were they, other than the obvious? Does time and age influence your work or our work?
Right. Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. And the time and age influenced a lot of that. But um, when I started out with that earlier series, I wasn't very good at composing the natural world around me. So I had to practice by setting things up, you know, and I looked to the old anonymous photographers of the past, and you know, kind of saw, you know, took from them, and then set up my composition, set up my subject, and was able to photograph. And that taught me how to go out into the real world.
Right.
And I always say, photography is probably closer to sculpture than you realize, because it's all about editing. It's about what you leave out. And I don't know that anyone ever gets this joke, but I always tell this joke about, as a kid, we had a book called 101 Elephant Joke Book. And in there was this one, how do you make a statue of an elephant? Well, you take a big rock and you chip away everything that doesn't look like an elephant, right? And that's, yeah. And to me, these landscapes are exactly the same. I could photograph this and right next to it be where they're laying a pipeline.
Right, right.
Or there could be a refinery, or there could be a parking lot, but instead you get the solitude, the lack of human, touch. And yeah, it's all about editing.
That's right. That's right. Well, do you have anything else you'd like to add?
No, I don't think so.
Well,
yeah, I think I put everything into that. Maybe a little more.
no, this has been wonderful.
Yeah, it's
This
been
has been
great.
really wonderful.
Really
Yeah.
great.
I love what you had to say.
And it
Well,
was
thanks.
nice
All
to
right.
see Beaumont.
Yeah.
Yeah. What part of Beaumont did you guys grow up in or lived in?
I lived in Nederland, actually.
Oh, Nederland.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same thing. I grew up in South Park, not too far from
Oh, yeah.
Lamar.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I lived over near it was called Forest Park back then. I don't know what that's called now.
Westbrook. Yeah.
Yeah. I was only in Beaumont for a couple of years.
Well, you're lucky. No, I always say the best part of Beaumont is it's just an hour and a half drive to Houston.
Yeah.
Well,
I probably shouldn't say that.
Yeah.
Someone
you got the river right there, and you got Louisiana right. We took advantage of that going across the border.
Right,
Doing things we
right.
shouldn't have been doing at our age, right?
Right, exactly. Yeah. But
Well, it's been great talking to you.
Yeah.
Thank
Well,
you so
thank
much
you.
for
You
doing this
too.
and supporting the gallery. We really appreciate it.
Well, I like what you guys do. I think this is, you give a lot of folks an opportunity to get their work out there, and that's really great. And I appreciate it. I appreciate what you've done for me.
Well,
thank you.
Thank you very, very much.
Yeah.
All right. Well, it's been great talking to you.
Yeah.
You too.
Okay.
We'll
Thank
end
you.
the recording now.